My project on Turkey, the government of Turkey. That made Julie. Here's a brief video.
Hello, I'm Angeli. I'm doing my government project on Turkey. I'm 25% Turkish and I want to learn more about the country and my heritage. My grandfather is Turkish and after finishing medical school he came to the United States for his residency fellowship. While in the U.S. he married my grandmother, who is American. My grandparents went to Turkey for my grandfather to complete his military duty after he finished his fellowship. My mother was born in Turkey and they moved back to the United States when she was 2. I never had the chance to meet my grandfather because he passed away when my mother was 18. My mom is disappointed that she never had a chance to go back to Turkey, and now there's a travel warning for Americans to go to Turkey. My mom has told me that Turkey is more westernized than most of the other Muslim countries. Kemal Ataturk was the first president of the Republic of Turkey in 1920. My mom told me that my grandfather was thankful for Kemal Ataturk westernized the country. This project gave me the opportunity to learn about the Turkish government and help me better understand the current political system in Turkey today.
Okay, that was a brief video describing. Here's some history of government. And Mustafa Kemal Ataturk was the father of Turkey. He founded the Republic of Turkey in 1923 after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and he created a secular parliamentary representative system. And he westernized the country in instituting social, political, economic, and cultural reforms, abolished Islamic law, and Ataturk's reform was referred to as the Kemalism, which had 6 arrows. And here are the 6 pillars that he had. Republicanism, which is the national state of Turkey established. Populism, equal rights from women in 1932. And secularism, separation of church and state. Reformism, revolutionary legal changes in new civil, commercial, and penal codes. Nationalism, preserve Republic of Turkey's independence and political development. And statism, modernization of the economy by state emerging as owner of major industries. And here's the Constitution. The original Constitution of Turkey has been amended many times since the original draft in 1921. In 1982, the Constitution is considered the fundamental law of the land. And the Constitution asserts that Turkey is a unitary nation state based on the principles of secular democracy. It is a republic that derives its sovereignty from the people and rests with the Turkish nation, who delegate its exercise to an elected unicameral parliament, which we are bicameral in the United States, which is different than us. And the preamble evokes the spirit of nationalism, the material and spiritual well-being of the republic. The basic nature of Turkey includes secularity, social equality, equality before the law, republican form of government, and the indivisibility of the republic and the Turkish nation. Like us. And here's some executive powers. Chief of State, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, represents the Republic of Turkey and the unity of the Turkish nation, responsible for ensuring the implementation of the Constitution, and directly elected the absolute majority popular vote. And they must be 40 years old to be the chief, but here you have to be 35, and must be have a bachelor's degree, and you don't require a bachelor's degree in the United States, and a 5-year term, and here we have a 4-year term, and they are eligible for a second term as we are here, and it can be impeached for high treason by the decision of 3/4 of the total members of Parliament, which is similar to the U.S. as well. Here's some executive powers. The head of state, Prime Minister Binali Yildirim, appointed the president from among members of the Turkish Grand National Assembly, approved by Parliament, and had 7 years term. The Cabinet Council Minister, nominated by the Prime Minister, appointed by the President, formulated and implemented the internal and foreign policy of the state, and was accountable for the Parliament and execution of their duties. And legislative powers, unicameral Parliament, which, as I said before, the United States is bicameral, so it's different. There's only one. And Parliament, Turkish Grand National Assembly, TGNA, directly elected the multi-seat contingencies by a closed proportional represent system that does not allow citizens directly to choose candidates, and that deputizes represent the whole nation, not just their contingency. Only parties surpassing 10% threshold can win parliamentary seats. 550 seats representing 81 provinces. Members serve 4-year terms. A member can be removed from their position by the decision of absolute majority of the TGNA. And what's the more legislative powers? The power to enact, amend, and repeal laws, debate and approves the budget, approves ramifications of the international treaties, makes decisions regarding printing and currency, power to authorize a declaration of war, martial law, and even state of emergency. TGNA may delegate its lawmaking power to the Council of Ministers, supervises Council of Ministers and authorizes it to issue governmental decrees. Legislative controls over executive are in form of written questions, investigations, and interpellations, whereby the Council of Ministers can be voted out of the office and President can be impeached with the decision of 3/4 members. And granted parliamentary immunities such as freedom of speech and with some qualifications freedom of arrest. And the judicial powers, Turkish civil code, modeled primarily after the Swiss civil code, Turkish judicial system exercised by independent courts, no jury system, verdict in criminal and civil trials are decided by judge and or a panel of judges, constitutional courts charged with ruling on the conformity of laws and decrees with the Constitution and are divided into judicial, administrative, and military courts, court of judicial disputes, the final authority to settle disputes concerning verdicts and competencies of the judicial administration or military courts. And judicial powers, Supreme High Court, last instance courts for reviewing decisions and judgment, court of cassation, judicial military courts, rendered by civil or criminal courts, which are not referred to by law to other judicial authorities, judges appointed until retirement age of 65. Whereas ours is for life. Council of State Administrative Courts, dealing with the specific case prescribed by law, judges appointed for renewable 4-year terms. And District Court. District Court of Appeals, Judicial and Administrative District Courts. First Instant Courts. Judicial Courts of Civil Law and Criminal Law. Administrative Courts and Tax Courts. And Military Courts and Disciplinary Courts. Some of the politics of Turkey. Turkey has a multi-party system since 1942 and experienced peaceful transitions of power. The democracy has been fractured by periods of instability and intermittent military coups in 1960, 1971, and 1980. In each case, the political power returned to the people. There have been many terrorist attacks in Turkey by Kurdish militants, including the bombing of a nightclub in New Year's Eve. There was another coup attempt in July 2016 by the Turkish military that wasn't happy with the president, was decreasing the secularism and reversing many of this country's early reforms which had been in place since the time of Kemal Ataturk. Democracy of the country had been threatened with the censoring of the press, interference with the independence and judiciary, and respect of the principles and separation of powers. 125,000 judges, teachers, civil servants have been suspended or dismissed, 36,000 formally arrested. Media organizations have been closed, and Turkey now has more journalists in prison than any other country in the whole world. And some of the politics in Turkey. President Erdogan accused Fethullah Gulen, who has been a permanent U.S. resident, of orchestrating the coup attempt, and want the U.S. to extradite him back to Turkey. Turkey and the U.S. have been allies in this strained relation. They have been members of the United Nations and NATO since the inception. Turkey has been in negotiations to become a member of the European Union since 2005. The recent events makes it less likely they will become a member. In the referendum that passed in April 2017, significantly expanded the role of the president by making it a presidential system instead of the current parliamentary system, It also furthers and reduces the separation of powers, which has many people concerned that the country is actually becoming an autocratic dictatorship instead of a democracy. Here's a kind of a thing to help describe. The president, which can issue, decree, accept issues, goes to the appoints ministers, and the president also has a maximum of 2 mandates. A new system applies to the next election, and the president selects 6 members from the judiciary board of judges and prosecutors, and they appoint and remove the judiciary personnel. And Parliament chooses 7 members from the judiciary part, and legislative have a maximum of 2 mandates. Of new system applies from the next election, and the prime minister and the powers of prime minister is scrapped, and the creation of one or several vice presidents. So it's not really powers are transferred over to the vice presidents. And 550 election 4 years and 600 elected for 5 years, coinciding with the mandate of the president. And that concludes my project.